Hi, hope everybody had a good Easter. Today I'm gonna read chapter 5 to you. By Sunday noon, everyone knew Don Clemente had returned from La Capital. You couldn't miss his new black Mercedes among the 30-year-old beat-up, patched together VW Beetles and Chevy Novas. Most of us didn't even have a car at all. I walked to Don Clemente's compound. It was no longer a house. He added 2 stories, a fancy tiled courtyard, a 3-car garage, gates all around, a security system. They said there was even a swimming pool. Don Clemente made his money off people like us who needed him. Juanito stood at Don Clemente's front gate. He slouched against the wrought iron, his hands stuck in his pockets. Juanito was Don Clemente's nephew. He was his bueno pa nada nephew, good for nothing nephew. Spoiled by money and too much time on his hands, he screened his uncle's visitors. I'd hated him ever since we both tried out for goalie on the soccer team, for the best regional soccer team. It'd been my last chance to make it, and Juanito had beat me. Everyone believed Don Clemente had bribed the coach. Then Juanito had squandered his chance by drinking and partying and missing practice. Within 2 months, he'd been kicked off the team. Juanito was a jerk. Yet I envied him, even more than I hated him. Sometimes they felt like the same things, hate and envy. I was jealous of Juanito's easy money. I hated him for the freedom to do whatever he wanted. The worst thing was that Juanito knew how I felt. I couldn't hide it. He'd take advantage of me if he could. Hey, Juanito, I said. ¿Está tu tío? Is your uncle here? I have to see him. I moved closer. His eyes were red. He covered them very quickly with his sunglasses. I smiled to let him know what a loser he was. He's busy. You better come back another day, Juanito answered. I was sure this was a lie. It was just Juanito's way of annoying me. I didn't back down. Check for me, I replied. He's expecting me. I sat down on a carved bench flanked by planters, overflowing with bright pink flowers, and then pulled out a newspaper and read the soccer scores. I wasn't going anywhere until I saw Don Clemente. Juanito sighed, punched a code into the gate, and retreated into the house. I waited for an hour. When Juanito finally returned, he led me wordlessly through the cool courtyard and around the side of the house to the back. Don Clemente sat on a vine-covered patio, his back to me, sipping black coffee. He didn't turn to greet me. He just motioned me with his good right hand to come and sit across from him. With the bad left hand, he dismissed Juanito. Don Clemente turned his one good eye to me. He didn't try to hide the dark red burn scars that covered the whole left side of his face. He didn't cover up the empty eye socket. He dared me to stare, to be embarrassed for him. I didn't look away. Don Clemente respected those who weren't afraid to see his ugliness. He leaned down and pulled a packet of papers out of the briefcase at his feet. I've heard from Domingo, he announced. Tu padre, your father, he added, as if I might have forgotten Papa's name. He sent money and asked me to make arrangements for you to go. Don Clemente pushed the papers across the table to me. Everything you need is here. It's becoming more complicated to make the journey. You must follow the instructions I've provided. Unfortunately, I can no longer vouch for everyone who assists in my operation, he explained. I've had to rely on some polleros, some scum, dirtbags, whose reputation you should fear. He stopped to let that sink in. I waited for him to finish. But your coyote, your smuggler, he continued, pointing to the papers, the one I've arranged for, he's one of the best. I've paid him half his fee already. The rest you'll take with you and pay him when his job is done. He is trustworthy, unlike most. Papa trusts you. I'm ready to go. I said it with confidence, but I felt scared. Don Clemente was not making too much of the risks. Everyone had stories, bad stories, but I couldn't afford to wait. It wasn't getting easier to get across La Linea. It was getting harder every day. Domingo must be desperate to have you with him, Don Clemente continued. This is the first time he has asked for my help. I would have helped with your mother. I offered to send you too a long time ago, and your sister. But Domingo was too proud to accept. I couldn't believe my ears. What was Don Clemente saying? All Papa had to do was ask, and I would have gone just like that? I waited and waited and waited, just because Papa wouldn't ask. He wouldn't ask an old rich man for help. Don Clemente had money coming out his ears. It especially hurt to know that it was Papa's pride that kept us apart more than the money. Orgullo, puro orgullo. Prideful man, prideful. Don Clemente handed me an envelope with a stack of bills inside. You know what I owe Domingo. This is a small payment on a large debt. It was true. Papa had pulled Don Clemente from a roaring fire that burned down his house and killed his wife and his daughter. Papa saved him from the flames, but he couldn't save him from becoming bitter. Money took the place of Don Clemente's family. They said he trafficked in everything. He could get anybody anything he wanted or needed, anything at all. But Don Clemente's specialty was why most people ended up knocking on his gate, hat in hand. Everyone in the state knew him as the person who arranged the safest passage north for the biggest price. If you could scrape together his fees, you went with Don Clemente. They said he never lost a single person. Nunca, never. Ni una persona, not one person. We could never afford Don Clemente's price. Whatever money Papa had sent, Don Clemente was making up the difference himself. I touched the edges of the bills in the envelope. Some of the money came from Papa's cutting lettuce, from Mama picking strawberries or weeding and hoeing. The rest of it came from Don Clemente. They say you're very quick. He looked at me curiously. Mija, my daughter, Marisol, was like you, smart, quicker than all the others. She would have gone far. He paused and rubbed the taut skin around his eye socket. Read the instructions carefully. Follow them exactly. My people will be expecting you. Gracias. Thank you, Don Clemente, I replied. I'll do as you say. I stood up and stuck out my hand. Don Clemente grasped it firmly in his hand. Out of the corners of my eye, I saw Juanito emerge from the shadows at the edge of the patio. Don Clemente looked at the nephew, pulled me into a hug. He was stronger than he looked. He held me for a second, then whispered his blessing into my ear. Que Dios te acompañe. May God accompany you. Okay, so again, if you can, wait up till the end of the week to send the questions and answers. And we'll talk to you guys again tomorrow. Bye.